Start with the name of Allah, the one who strengthens the heart when the world tries to weaken it. And there are moments in life when your soul feels heavy, when your spirit bends under the weight of trials, and when your hope begins to fade. But within the Qur'an, there are surahs that speak directly to that broken place inside you. Verses that don't just comfort you, but revive you. This surah is not just a recitation of words, it's a divine medicine that restores courage, patience, and clarity. When you understand its message, you no longer fear what's ahead, because you realize that strength isn't found in your circumstances. It's found in your connection with the one who never leaves you. The surah teaches that strength comes through surrender to Allah. When life begins to feel like a battlefield, when the noise of the world drowns out the calm of your heart, this surah whispers a truth that changes everything. You were never meant to carry it all alone. The heart grows heavy when it tries to control what only Allah can command. We fight, we plan, we exhaust ourselves believing that power is in our hands. But this surah reminds us that true strength is not found in resistance against Allah's will, but in submission to it. It is the quiet, unseen moment when you bow your head and say, "Why Allah? I can't," but you can. That is the moment strength is born. This surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of empowerment because it roots your heart in certainty. You stop depending on your limited understanding and start trusting the one who sees beyond every veil. The surah teaches that faith is not about escaping pain, but transforming it. When you surrender, your fear loses its power. Your confusion becomes trust. And your tears turn into prayers that ascend directly to the throne of the most merciful. Every difficulty becomes a teacher. Every delay becomes a mercy in disguise, and every loss becomes a return to something greater. When the surah speaks of Allah's power and mercy, it isn't calling you to despair, it's calling you to rest. It's reminding you that the one who split the sea for Musa, who cooled the fire for Abraham, who raised Yunus from the depths of darkness, is the same one who watches over you now. You do not need to fight the ocean to cross it. You need only to trust the one who parts it. This is the essence of surrender. It means you stop struggling against destiny and begin to walk with it, knowing that every step has been written with love. Surrendering to Allah doesn't mean you stop trying. It means you try with peace. It's not passive. It's powerful. Because when your effort is coupled with reliance, it's no longer just your effort. It's divine assistance. The surah calls you to a higher kind of strength, the strength of the soul that kneels before its Lord and rises unbreakable. Every verse invites you to let go of control, to empty your heart of fear and fill it with remembrance. And when you do, you'll discover that what you thought was breaking you was actually building you. You'll realize that the greatest victory isn't in overcoming the trial. It's in finding Allah within it. And that is the kind of strength no storm can take away. True power lies in trust and patience, not control. The surah reminds us that life's storms are not conquered by tightening our grip, but by opening our hearts to trust the one who commands the winds. Many times, we think strength means being in control, controlling outcomes, people, and the future. But this surah teaches that control is an illusion, while trust is reality. When a believer places their trust fully in Allah, they find a peace that no chaos can disturb. Because trust isn't blindness, it's clarity, the understanding that even when we can't see the road ahead, Allah already knows where it leads. Patience, too, is not a passive waiting, it's active faith. It is the calm in the heart that says, "My Lord has not forgotten me." When this surah speaks of those who endured hardship with faith, It shows us that patience is not a slow surrender. It's a declaration of belief. It's saying, I will not rush what Allah has perfectly timed. Each delay becomes a test of love, each silence a chance to draw nearer. The one who learns patience learns the language of the soul, for every moment of waiting polishes the heart until it reflects trust in its purest form. This surah invites us to see that trust and patience are two wings of the same bird. One cannot fly without the other. Trust teaches you to believe in Allah's plan. Patience teaches you to wait for it without losing hope. Together, they build a strength that no worldly power can shake. When you truly trust Allah, you no longer chase what isn't meant for you. And when you are patient, you no longer despair over what hasn't come. You learn to breathe in faith and exhale surrender. The believer who masters this balance carries a serenity that shines even in hardship, a light that confuses those who live only by sight. And the surah reminds you again and again, your Lord is never late, never unaware. What you see as delay is often divine protection. What you see as loss may be a hidden gift. When you trust Allah's wisdom, you stop demanding explanations and start finding contentment in every decree. Because sometimes strength is not about doing more, but about believing deeper. The heart that trusts becomes unbreakable, and the soul that is patient becomes unshakable. That is the quiet power this surah teaches, the kind of strength that doesn't roar, but endures, and through endurance, overcomes. Pain is a divine tool for purification and closeness to Allah. This surah teaches us that pain is not a sign of abandonment, but of attention. That when Allah allows pain to enter your life, He is not punishing you, He is preparing you. Every ache of the heart, every tear that falls unseen, every night spent in quiet exhaustion is part of a sacred process meant to draw you closer to Him. The human heart, left untested, grows attached to this world. But pain comes as a messenger, gentle or fierce, reminding the soul of its true home. The surah calls us to see beyond the surface of suffering and recognize that within pain, there is purpose. Within the ache, there is awakening. Pain strips away illusions. It removes the layers of pride, ego, and distraction that keep us from seeing Allah clearly. It brings us face to face with our weakness, but not to humiliate us, to remind us of our need for Him. And in that realization lies the seed of strength. In the one who has tasted sorrow and still says, Alhamdulillah, has reached a depth of faith that comfort could never teach. In this surah teaches that hardship is not a barrier between you and Allah, it's a bridge. For in your lowest moments, when no one else can reach you, Allah's mercy does. Pain makes your dua more sincere, your prayers more alive, your heart more humble. It teaches you to rely on Allah, not out of habit, but out of hunger, the deep longing of the soul that knows no peace except in His remembrance. When you read the verses of this surah, you realize that those whom Allah loved most, the prophets, the righteous, the steadfast, all walk through the valley of pain. Their tears were not signs of weakness, but of connection. Allah allowed them to struggle, not because He had forgotten them, but because He had chosen them for something higher. And so, when pain visits you, do not turn it away too quickly. Sit with it. Let it soften your heart and cleanse it of what weighs it down. Every trial you face carries within it a secret. It is Allah calling you back, polishing you for the light He intends you to carry. This surah reminds you that pain does not last, but what it builds within you does. The soul purified by hardship shines with a quiet resilience, a faith that no comfort could have grown. You learn that Allah's love sometimes comes dressed as loss, His mercy sometimes cloaked in difficulty. And when your heart finally surrenders, you begin to see that what felt like breaking was, in truth, a rebuilding, a purification that leads not to despair, but to nearness. For the believer, pain becomes not an enemy to escape, but a teacher to embrace, a reminder that the path to Allah is not always easy, but it is always worth it. The believer's heart grows stronger through remembrance and reliance. This surah reminds us that the real power of the believer is not found in possessions, status, or worldly achievements. It is found in the state of the heart that remembers Allah in every circumstance. Remembrance, or dhikr, is not merely repetition of words, it is the act of reawakening the soul to its source. When you remember Allah, the heart that once trembled finds stillness. The confusion that once overwhelmed you begins to fade, replaced by a peace that does not depend on circumstance. This surah calls you to return again and again to that remembrance, to make your heart a home where Allah's name is alive. Reliance upon Allah, or tawakkul, grows from remembrance. The more you remember Him, the more you trust Him. The surah gently teaches that reliance is not laziness or passivity. It is strength that comes from knowing who controls all affairs. When the believer truly relies on Allah, they no longer fear what is taken or yearn excessively for what is delayed, because they know every outcome is already written with divine precision. Reliance transforms anxiety into tranquility. It replaces panic with prayer. It teaches you that the same hand that raised the sun each morning is the hand that holds your heart steady through every storm. This surah shows us that remembrance and reliance are like roots and wings. One anchors you, the other lifts you. When your heart is anchored in remembrance, no wind of hardship can uproot your peace. And when you rely upon Allah, you find yourself lifted beyond fear, beyond uncertainty. Every act of worship, every whispered subhanallah, every moment of patience in hardship is building that inner strength unseen by the world, but known to Allah. The believer who carries this kind of strength may bend, but never breaks, because their foundation is divine. This surah also teaches that the heart grows stronger through constancy. The daily turning back to Allah, even when you feel distant. The choosing of faith over fear, even when nothing makes sense. Remembrance polishes the heart like rain softens the soil. Reliance waters the seed of faith until it blossoms into certainty. And when that happens, your heart becomes unshakable. You walk through tests with calm, through pain with gratitude, through delay with hope. You understand that remembrance is not something you do only in peace. It is what gives you peace. And reliance is not the last resort when all else fails. It is the first step of every believer who knows that nothing is beyond the reach of the one who says, "Be." And it is. Every verse is a reminder that Allah is near in every hardship. This surah does not speak to the mind alone. It speaks to the heart that trembles, to the soul that is weary, to the believer who feels unseen. It gently reminds you that even when you think no one understands your pain, your Creator does. Every sigh you release, every tear you hide, every silent plea that passes your lips, all of it is known by the one who is closer to you than your jugular vein. The surah wraps this truth around you like a cloak of comfort. You are never walking through your trials alone. Allah is nearer than your fear, nearer than your pain, and nearer than any help the world could offer. When you listen to these verses, you begin to realize that divine nearness is not a poetic idea. It's a living reality. It is the quiet reassurance that meets you in the stillness of the night when your heart aches and your words fail. It is the invisible presence that steadies you when your world feels like it's falling apart. This surah reminds you that the same Lord who guided the prophets through fire, flood, and rejection is the same Lord guiding you through your hardship now. He never forgets His servant, never turns away, never abandons. Sometimes He is silent, not because he is distant, but because he is teaching you to find him in ways you never have before. The surah teaches that hardship itself can become the meeting place between you and your Lord. In your ease, you may forget him. In your struggle, you remember. When the world's noise fades, his voice becomes clear. When everything you relied on is stripped away, you begin to lean on him fully. That is where the transformation happens, when pain becomes the doorway to presence. In each verse calls you back to that reality. Do not despair, for your Lord is with you. The believer who holds this truth begins to see trials not as barriers, but as bridges. Even in heartbreak, there is a hidden mercy. Even in loss, there is divine companionship. My beloved brothers and sisters, this surah reminds you that Allah's nearness does not depend on your strength, it depends on your turning. Even if your voice shakes, even if your faith feels small, call upon him. The distance you feel is not real, it's only the fog of fear. The moment you remember him, he is there, because he never left. Every verse of this surah becomes a hand reaching for your heart, saying, you are seen, you are heard, you are loved by the one who never forgets. And when you finally understand that nearness, the darkness no longer feels endless. You may still walk through pain, but you walk with purpose. You may still face storms, but you know whose mercy surrounds you. And that knowledge, that Allah is near, is the greatest strength a heart can ever hold. Strength is not the absence of struggle, but faith that endures it. This surah teaches us that true strength is not found in those who never fall, but in those who fall and rise again with faith still alive in their hearts. It reminds us that struggle is not a punishment. It is the soil in which faith grows. Every test, every heartbreak, every loss is a thread in the divine tapestry of your story, woven with wisdom you may not yet see. The surah reveals that strength is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, steady, and unseen by the world. It is the strength of a believer who whispers, Alhamdulillah, through tears, who keeps praying when the answer hasn't come, who holds on to hope when everything else seems lost. That is the kind of strength this surah awakens in the heart. When you walk through hardship, the world may see only your exhaustion, but Allah sees your endurance. He sees your patience when you could have given up, your forgiveness when you could have sought revenge, your trust when you could have doubted. This surah reminds you that these unseen moments are not small. They are sacred. They are the proof that your faith is alive. True strength, as taught by this surah, is not measured by what you can carry in your hands, but by what you can carry in your heart. It is the ability to stay soft in a hard world, to remain kind when treated unjustly, to believe in Allah's mercy even when life feels merciless. This surah shows that endurance is not simply surviving, it is transforming. Through every challenge, Allah is refining you, shaping your character, deepening your faith. The fire you pass through is not meant to destroy you, but to purify you, to reveal the gold hidden beneath the dust of despair. And when you come out of it, you are not the same. You are stronger, wiser, closer to Allah. You begin to see that struggle was never your enemy, it was your teacher. It taught you where real peace comes from, not from the absence of trials, but from the presence of Allah within them. And so, this surah calls every believer to a deeper understanding of strength, to see pain not as defeat, but as divine preparation, to meet hardship not with fear, but with faith. For the one who trusts Allah, no difficulty is wasted, no moment of waiting is meaningless. Even in your weakness, you are being strengthened by the one who never leaves. And when your faith endures through struggle, when you keep walking even with trembling steps, that is when you truly embody the message of this surah. You become a living reminder that strength is not found in escaping the storm, but in standing within it, in knowing that your heart is held by the one who commands the winds.